In 2024, it took a criminal network days and sometimes weeks to move illicit funds through a series of smart accounts. In 2026, that entire cycle from initial scam to a crypto off-ramp takes less than 10 minutes. We are seeing a new breed of criminals that we call hybrid launderer. They don't just use one bank, one method, they exploit the blind spots between your fraud detection, your AML monitoring, and your crypto fiat trail. So if you are still looking at transactions in isolation, you aren't just behind, you are actually invisible to them. So today I'm going to break down this 2026 typology and show you how to move from static monitoring to network analytics in order then to catch these flows before the money leaves the building. So let's jump into today's video. Let's unpack how it is, the anatomy of a hybrid attack in 2026. To catch a hybrid launderer, you have to think like one. So they operate across three distinct phases. That's how I group them myself. And that usually happen, those phases happen almost simultaneously. So the first one would be the fraud inflow, and it starts with a high velocity scam. In 2026, we are seeing quite a lot of AI-powered voice cloning and deep fakes, which are used to target victims with urgency, like family emergency or an investment opportunity that you need to take right now. The victim is coached to use an instant payment, for example, like a SEPA instant or a FedNow, because once you press the send button on that transaction, the money is practically gone. The second element is the mule layering. So funds don't stay in the first account. As you know, this is something we've seen from legacy processes as well. They are instantly split across mule cluster. But here in 2026, there is a twist. We are seeing a massive rise in recruited mules. So students or gigs, that worker who aren't career criminal, but people that are persuaded to rent their account for a few hours. And according to the latest data from LexisNexis, the risk solution, these recruited mules are much harder to detect because they have perfectly legitimate account histories, not like a dormant account or a new account. So you can see some references that we leave on the screen now. And third is the crypto off-ramp. Within minutes, those smaller amounts are consolidated and pushed into a VASP, a virtual asset service provider. By the time your anti-money laundering system flags the original deposits as suspicious, these funds have already been swapped for a privacy coin or moved across a cross-chain bridge. Now let's talk in more details why traditional rules are failing. Most banks are still using static thresholds. For example, the system would flag transactions that are above a certain limit, let's say $10,000 for example, and the hybrid launderer knows exactly what are these thresholds better sometimes than your own staff. So they will of course process transaction what we call below the line at 9,900 for example, and they use 20 accounts to move perhaps $500 into each. So if you're looking at just account A, everything may just look normal, but the breakthrough from now on is moving towards a network signals and behavioral biometrics, which can be made out of different components. One could be the shared device ID. For example, are 5 unrelated customers logging in from the same iPhone 15? Or typing biometrics, is the user entering their own name, like with the speed of a copy and paste? Real human have some specific hesitation pattern. They take time when they write. So when typing their own data, it takes different type than a normal copy and paste, and criminals manage big volume. They don't keep this into the account. So that is another signal for you. The velocity spikes is an account that usually spend $20 at a supermarket suddenly start to receive and send $5,000 in 60 seconds. These are all network signals and behavior biometrics that will make your detection actually catch some of the bad guys if they work together simultaneously. Detecting these patterns require a specific mindset, what I call the intelligence-led investigator. This is a core pillar of the FinCrime Career Accelerator 2.0, and in Module 4, which covers the financial intelligence unit role, we don't just look at how to file a suspicious activity report. As part of the course, you will learn how to connect the dots. We teach you how to move from alert clearing to a network type of investigation. And in 2026 and even beyond, the analysts who get promoted are those who can identify this type of cluster and present them to the senior management or even up to the MLRO as a coordinated threat to understand new risks. So if you want to master that level of professional framing, you can find the link of the course right here and in the description of this video. So how do we fight back? We have to use the new regulatory tools at our disposal, and FATF recently finalized the update to Recommendation 16, which is called the trouble rule. This was done in June 2025. So this isn't just about crypto anymore, it's about payment transparency across the entire life cycle. The new standard mandates that for cross-border payments over $1,000, specific structured data like, for example, the legal entity identifier, or which is of course applicable to company, or the date of birth, which is applicable for individuals, must be part of the payment messages. So in the payment message, you now have these two new additional information. As a practitioner, you should be using this data to perform entity resolution if you want to. So if John Smith's date of birth in the payment message doesn't match the John Smith that you have on file, this is a clear red flag for a potential Mule account activity. And finally, let's talk about the output, your suspicious activity report narrative. As of this year, an effective SAR is one that helps the financial intelligence unit see the actual network. Don't just write customer received multiple high-value payments. Instead, what you should be writing is something more elaborate and comprehensive. For example, say something like, the customer appears to be part of a coordinated Mule cluster. We have identified 3 accounts, account X, Y, and Z, sharing the same IP address and device ID. Funds are consolidated within 15 minutes of receipt and transferred to a known high-risk VASP, Virtual Asset Service Provider. So this level of narrative is, as you can see, much richer and provides more information to the FIU. And this is what law enforcement needs. This is what makes your compliance program much more defensible and helping this SAR to actually bring more results when they reach the law enforcement side. So to recap, the hybrid launderer is professional, is fast, and is tech savvy. To beat them, we have to move away from the legacy compliance type of checkbox, and we want to move towards an actual financial intelligence. If you are seeing these typologies in your own work, or if you have questions about how to bridge the gap between fraud and anti-money laundering, do leave me a comment below. I read every single of your comments and try to respond as much as I can to all of you. And if you haven't already, do remember to press the like on this video and subscribe to my channel for more of this type of video. This is the best way to support the channel growth and to ensure that I can bring you even more of these practitioner-led deep dives. I'm Marco Beranzoni, stay sharp, stay defensible, and I will see you in the next one.